And so when we left, I went and worked in the Phillips Brooks School District in Boston when he was at Harvard, and I had 700 African American students, and I taught them the sights and sounds of Africa. They had the burnings going on a Blue Hill and Blue Hill Avenue there, and I took the children with me every weekend. So I continued my Peace Corps work and really never stopped serving, nor have any of our children. And John, as he does, continues today. And I think that is probably something you see with other return volunteers. And then our son, he served in the Peace Corps in Paraguay with his wife, who's also a PhD in public health. And the two of them served in Peace Corps. And then I have a daughter who served in Honduras, who's also a family practice physician. And I have another daughter who served in Ecuador, who runs a women's health clinic. So 4 of my children have actually served in Peace Corps, and then the others serve in other ways. Yeah, it's the core of all choices that I've made in life, and I think most all Peace Corps volunteers feel that way. I remember Paul Songus, towards the end of his life, and he did some amazing things, and they Mary Matlin on her show said, well, so what was the most important thing you did in your life? He said, be a Peace Corps volunteer. And we feel that way, all of us. This is probably one of the happiest days of my life. We had, it was the 50th anniversary of Peace Corps, and we decided we were going to go back. Very difficult to get there, but to go back to our village. And the word went out that we were going to be coming, but we got to the river, the Soar River, and after 2 days of travel, the community leaders were there to have a coffee ceremony and greet us. And I thought, oh, isn't that nice? And very special. And then the mayor, who was about the age of one of my children, said, would you like to go back to your original school, St. Gabriel School? And I said, oh, is it still standing? He said, oh, yes, it is still standing. So we started walking up the hill, and as we got to the bottom of the hill, lining the streets were students in their blue uniforms, and thousands of them, and coming down the hill were our students who were now the teachers in the school, and they were holding the hands of their own grandchildren as they brought us flowers. And they welcomed us back to the school, and they'd been preparing for weeks. They had the costuming, they had the dancing. It was like it was yesterday that we left. And about halfway through the ceremony, they said, would you like to see your original classroom? And I said, oh, yes. They said, do you remember where it is? I said, of course I do. So I walked right there, and when I walked in the classroom, my students that were still alive were sitting in the exact seats where I had left them. And there were only 3 girls in the class at that time, and those 3 women were sitting in the front row still where I had placed them. And you look at this picture, and it is half girls and half boys now. So that's progress. When we sat and talked to them, we asked them, how did you survive the wars, the famine? Because we went back and worked in the famine in the North and all. How did you all survive that? And our students, who were adults, the grandparents themselves, they said, well, we did what you told us to. And we looked at each other, what were we, 20 years old? What could we have told them that would have helped them survive all of that? And they said, well, don't you remember? And I'd go help us remember. They said, that first day when you both came to the classroom, to the school, and we welcomed you, we were all sitting on our chair, and Mr. Garamendi came in and he said, we are going to go down to the river, and we're going to build a bridge so that nobody has to walk to school in bare feet through the polluted water, and we are going to build a bridge, and we are going to do that together. We can do anything together. And they said, Mrs. Garamendi, it is still standing, that bridge, and we think of you every day when we walk over it. And things like that you don't know how you're going to touch people, what it's going to do, what the ripple effect is going to be into the future. But that is a very special moment in my life.